Hi, welcome back to another Website Depot podcast. As ever, I'm your host, Greg Benevent, and today we're going to learn a little bit more about social media marketing with our friend Kat. How you doing today there, Kat?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in. I'm doing all right. Well, cool. Okay, so yeah, let's get right into it. I mean, I know that social media, I mean, for so much of it is about having followers, about having folks to see your stuff and click on it and get that validation. And I know, speaking both from a personal standpoint and from a business one, it's not always easy to get started with social media when, hey, you don't have all these followers and you're thinking, should I pay for them? How do I go about it? And yeah, I wanted to ask you, how businesses and people can get started with getting followers on the social media there.
Yeah, well, so let's say that you've now, you've gotten your social media pages all set up. You're just starting your business. You're wanting organic followers and organic customers, but you're not really ready to pay for followers because at the end of the day there does come a point where you will start looking at marketing or looking at programs to kind of increase your engagement. But before you even get there, you should, your main focus should be real people all the time. And so the way to get more organic followers is to it's a tedious task, but it really does work. And that is looking at your competition, looking at your mutuals, looking at, type of influencers that have what you want, and going through and following who they're following and taking a look at who they're following. For the most part, if they are having an organic reach, their followers are organic. And at the end of the day, that's what we want the most, is just the most real. And so, you'll go through and you'll follow, if not everyone, you're going to go and follow and look at the different bios and stuff. And for those who have, a sense of pride of, oh, I don't want my ratio or I don't want to follow, like I want to be found first, that will come on its own when your product or when your company is more developed. But at the beginning, like if you're not going to put yourself out there and make friends and you're not going to shake other people's hands, there's no one who's going to want to shake your, you really have to put yourself out there at the beginning. Yeah, like strength comes in vulnerability. And if you put yourself out on the table, that is, what will get you what you want faster.
Wow. No, I mean that's one of the more profound things I think someone said on one of these podcasts. The idea about strength coming through vulnerability. No, that makes so much sense. It Yeah. Okay. So for what you're saying, it sounds like very actionable kind of steps, the kind of thing that a person could do literally the moment this podcast ends. Is that so? You're saying that they would, okay, the first thing is they go out and they say, okay, they identify the competitors, they see who the competitors are following, and then what?
So then they'll go through and they'll follow who they're following. And if that leads to more, like say it's a restaurant and you are like a sports bar, then you're going to go to the other sports bar in your area or even further away in your area, or sports bars that, are in a different state that you personally admire, or, but you should look at, more local, because if they're going to a sports bar in the middle of Santa Monica and yours is in Malibu, doesn't mean that that's not an impossible audience. That's pretty similar. It's just, a couple minute drive. But yeah, so you're going to go through and you're going to follow all of those. And, if there are people who will follow back immediately, there are people who are going to be intrigued and want to learn more, or, at least they'll see your name and it will stay in their mind. But before you know it, at the end of the day, you will get, if you do that every day, or you will get at least 300 followers organically every day. Or at least, 80 to 300, or, at a minimal of 5. But, it's really rare that it's such a low number that you get back. But that would be, you would be surprised how quickly you can raise your followers. I've had experiences where it's been 300 in one day. And that was by looking through competitors.
Wow. It I mean, it obviously without the risk of, running the risk of revealing too much about that. If you don't mind me asking, for those 300 followers you found in the day, how many did you manually follow in the course of that day to get that number to the 300?
Most of them.
Wow. That's amazing. That and again, it's so interesting because when you say that, to me, it brings to mind all the ideas of, hard work, all the things that go into a business. This is like a real manual task that, like, hey, it's not like, this is something that anybody can do. I mean, it's not like you used some kind of scientific algorithm and went through the program or something to find it. You literally just you went through the follows. Just so I'm clear, you went through the follow who your competitors followed within your area, within your industry, or like what was your specific thing? I'm trying to make it as specific as possible for someone listening to this.
I went through competitors in the area, just a couple, streets over or whatnot, and went through that, and all of those, like, I say I followed everyone, but I really did, for the most part, look at every single person that they were following. And if they were on private, I didn't really do it, because private, you don't really, it is private for a reason. But for public profiles, you could tell that they are real. You could tell what their interests are. And at the end of the day, you're not a robot. I know that's like a weird sentence to say, but I feel like, people are like, marketing, it's robots. It's all like, oh, that's a bot. And it's like, well, you're not. Like, take the time out of your day to find new people. Like, if that's what you're trying to build, you're, at the end of the day, is getting more people. Like, that's what social media is about. It's like, you have access now to get more people. So when you take the time out of your day to do that, you will be surprised by how many people can also identify, like, hey, I'm a person, this is a person. But I mean, if you are very obvious that you're a bot, or if you are paying for your followers, it's going to come off that way. You're going to look at your followers and it's going to be like random fake accounts. But if you're going through and you are personally following these people, you would be surprised by how many new followers you get, new DMs you get about, I haven't heard about you guys, or, oh, I just came across you guys. And you're like, of course you did, because I found you. And, like, it's all, and so that's kind of what it is. And it's like, okay, when you get out of your head at the end of the day that, one, you're a human, and this is just a human interaction, and two, you want as real as possible, like, that's what's going to get you there. And, and so I'll go back to the whole pride thing. I think it's very important to kind of get out of your own head, because no one's heard of you. No one cares about you. So, what, the only thing that's stopping yourself is pride or being scared. And you've got nothing to lose when you follow someone, because either they follow you back or you don't. But, no matter what kind of clicks you do and you're being active on your account personally, that is going to enhance your algorithm, because Instagram and like SoundCloud and YouTube and Twitter, they can tell once you start using bots, or when you start buying your followers or whatever. And when you start doing that, then there's a chance to get shadow banned, which just means they can recognize that you are an account that is kind of trying to cheat the system, and you won't be seen on other people's feeds. So the more that you are organically active on your own account, which is why it is tedious, which is why people, that is a job to do, which is, but when you do it yourself, like, yeah, they really reward active work.
Okay, and I think I think I'm so glad you said that about the rewarding part of active work, because I feel like, that's the kind of thing that someone that has a business or runs a business, but maybe isn't so familiar with social media, will be able to identify with the most.
Mm-hmm.
This is simply one more task for you to do your job. I mean, in the course of whatever your rest of your work day is, this is one more thing you can do. I mean, it's not taking out the trash necessarily, but it is like maintaining a good workspace. It's one more, menial's not the word, but it is one more task. If you don't mind me asking, on terms of, you mentioned so much about time and what the time these things take, and I'm still very struck by the 300 followers you had the one day. How long did that take you to find and follow all of that? You figure, ballpark estimate, Kat?
Well, so that was the day that I was trying to break 1,000. Like, we were just a newer company. I wanted to break. We were just at like that so close but so far away feeling of, we're at 2,000. Let's try to get to 3,000 without in a short amount of time. I wanted it to be. I was feeling impatient. I was like, I want it now. So I went through and I followed all the competitors, and I followed not the competitors themselves, to be clear.
Right.
That would be not really strategic, but to follow who they're following, because you want their fans. And to go through with all of that, that took about 3 hours of going through every single, and to make sure that they were all real people. It was a good, couple albums that I just kind of put on because I was working, but it really was, like taking the time to look through everyone and to make sure that you're following. And at the end of the day, like you kind of look at who you're following as like a neighborhood. When you get your mutuals and you get good neighbors, that's when you start to develop relationships of, let me send you products, but if you are liking us just as much as we like you, that's how you create relationships at the end of the day with like influencers and other companies that complement yours. Like if you are a restaurant and you see a bar, or if you're the sports bar and you're wanting to do custom t-shirts, that's how you start creating relationships and collaborations. But it just doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen without work. It happens when you reach out and you follow and you create the bridge for you guys to talk.
That's wonderful. So yeah, if you, as soon as this ends, you can, you don't have to sit down and do 3 hours of it right now, but you can start, get in a little bit each day so that you build up this thing, you build up this momentum. And eventually, a lot of the things that Kat talked about, some of that concern, some of that, maybe that pride, those things, they won't be such barriers after you really, for lack of a better phrase, get your hands dirty and get to work on it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I personally learned a lot just sitting here talking to you, Kat. That was great. Thank you so much for coming out. Not coming out. You sat there in your place. Thank you for coming on to share this with us today.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning into this. We hope it's a help, and you can get started on those, looking at those followers today and making those steps. On behalf of Website Depot, my name's Greg Benevent. Take it easy and have a good day.